support as strong as possible, AD carry. Lucian, if you're willing to play the early game well, or if you're looking to play around 2 items, can be powerful. And there's a lot of synergy between Lucian and Lissandra because of when they both spike in terms of their item choices. So far, we got early priority in all 3 selections. Jace, Lissandra, and Lucian off the board.
And you mentioned how Olaf was the one pick for Mugen so far. Looks like we're going to be seeing him play the Jarvan. Don't think it's the return of support Jarvan here or mid Jace or anything like that. So looks like we have our Mugen pick, which is exciting to know what he's going to play in his second LCK game for this split.
Second LCK game ever, right? This is a player who was around the Korean scene but never really made inroads. Famously went over to Red Bull in the Challenger Series in 2017 and played with Tal, and is still with Tal, but amusingly has never been reunited with Tal when it comes to LCK games. They actually haven't played a game together. Maybe game number 2 if Hanwha Life go down in game number 1. The Galio going to be locked first round here. Lex support and mid lane pick. KT just want to get Score, one of his old favorites. He was around for the last Rek'Sai meta. He's around for the new Rek'Sai meta. First round Rek'Sai means you look at KT and you say, at 1 item, what a beast 3 champions they've locked in.
Definitely is feels good actually, if they are able to play that kind of style and get a little bit more aggressive, but Hanwha Life have been more than often at the team that loves to get in your face and down and dirty, so could get a pretty exciting game just from what we're looking at right now. But we are jumping into the second round of bans here. Talia and Aurelia going to be taken off the board.
Feels like Jace will represent a situation that's too intense for someone like Kale to come out in the top lane, and that's too much of a disparity when it comes to laning phase strength there. You really would prefer a melee champion to trade with the Kleptomancy Kale we saw yesterday, but honestly, I'm sure you and I are both biased in a series like this for some new picks, for some new blood, for something like the Sona and Tarek that we saw over in Challengers, so I guess Academy over in North America, and all the other picks, the one-ofs that are going around the world. Sylas permanently banned so far in every single game that's been played this week of the LCK. Finally, the return of a champion that's terrorizing solo queue, and I predict will terrorize pro play when it's actually available to be picked. Yorick's going to be banned here, so we're looking for KT to just probably decide on their support at this pick. But it'd be actually pretty surprising to see support held on till final pick here. Snowfire could have just taken Thresh and they could have gone for the Wifesteal duo. But it's kind of conspicuous that they're holding on for support for last pick.
And it's very strange. We won't have any of those combinations you were mentioning, the weird ones and the new ones with the Sona Tarek or anything like that. But Sangin also doing his fair share of trolling and will bring in the Kaisa, which, by the way, surprisingly, pretty low win rate overall here for LCK, below 40% at 39 so far for Spring.
Seems like KT desperately don't want to be hard counterpick bot lane. That's why they selected their flexible top mid lane assassin in Akali, because they wanted full information on the Hanwha Life duo lane. And we do get the confirmation. Seems like, at least based on the hover, they were tempted to throw down the Galio to bot lane. Don't laugh at me like that. I didn't mean it that way. And they're just going to go for Corki. So the front line here is going to be probably Cinderhawk, Jarvan, and support Galio, but otherwise very, very squishy, right? 3 ranged 80 carries in one way or the other with Jace, Kaisa, and the Corki. Action on to KT. They did save. Support counterpick to last. They're going to go with the Braum here. You would have understood something like Rakan to give them backline access, right? But they're not going to be going that way. That it's going to go for Lucian Braum. I feel like if you were going Braum, why not just have taken it earlier, right? It's not like Braum is picked for support counterpick reasons. They just go Lucian Braum after all. And I don't feel like KT leveraged the value of red side last pick at all.
Yeah, I mean, they clearly did not, and it's pretty uncommon to see in the LCK. It's even play-by-plays can come in and do their own version of the pick ban analysis and say, oh, they're probably going to save that last pick for the counter pick, but KT not quite doing it this time around.
Because you think about what they learned with the Akali being locked in, they learned 2 more 80 carries. So when you think about, all right, how do I deal with 2 more 80 carries? Well, ability like a Rakan to get in there, right, and engage on them. Instead, it's Braum, who's picked for Lucian Braum laning strength and maybe a little bit of poke denial, right, with the Unbreakable. So it's not like they leverage the extra information for something meaningful, given that actually Hanwha Life revealed a lot about their draft in the second round.
Definitely very interesting stuff. Just about ready to hop into game number 1. Corki, also another pick that we have seen find success in other regions, but in Korea is 1-6 so far. So Tempt trying to raise those stats tonight.
But remind me about the Week 10 stat, Valdez. It's 1-0, baby.
Oh,
it's
boy.
Undefeated in all of Week 10 in the LCK.
Look at you being a play-by-play. You're doing it so well.
I'm learning it from Riot Stats. That can be in the matchup graphic, baby.
Looks real good, right? Undefeated
in Week 10.
And, yeah, Hanwha Life are 6th and KT are 9th. So we all know what that means. But we're going to jump into game number 1, guys. Let's see how it all goes down now. Getting the passionate fans here, supporting their team up until Week 10. Feels like we've kind of just flown by all the way towards the end of LCK, and we'll eventually get into that playoffs just the week next of this one.
Definitely your first LCK split, whether you're a fan or a caster, feels much longer, but it really purrs along when it's your 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or in my case, I believe it's now my 8th split. Casting the LCK, so 2015 spring. From there, 2 a year, so yeah, we're my 8th split now. Jumping on to Hanwha Life, and it's Mujin's 2nd game only, right? So I'm sure he wants to show something for himself for this season. Only played a single game of Olaf. In fact, worrying sign for Hanwha Life is that So1 and Mujin have played 4 games, I believe none of them together, and have no victories between the 2 of them. So both looking for their first match victory. I'm not sure the tournament realm has Corgi available. I've already mentioned I would prefer to court Corgi. Now, we have the Korean advertisement for the skin line between games. And I'm not saying that for sellout reasons. I'm saying that for something more important. As Hanwha Life actually late invade and score. Sadly, we'll have to. Actually, no,
it's going to be a 2-on-2 here as Kingin is Akali at level 1. They're just going to turn onto her and not quite get the kill yet. They don't want to blow any flashes or anything like that, but Smite comes down. Score trying to stay alive here, but he goes down after the flash too. As that 2v2 did not go to plan for KT, but Hanwha off to a great start.
Hanwha Life did everything right at that contest. Late invade into warding to make sure Rek'Sai was not there. KT did literally everything wrong. Look at the enemy 2 champions. They have a Jace. He has more spells than you at level 1.
Yeah.
It's the same as if you see a level 2 Spike. You don't try to fight them if you're level 1. Effectively, it was a level 2 champ and a level 1 against 2 level 1s. Doesn't work that way, Valdez.
Look at the follow-up here, too. Scores trying to just jungling at 1 camp. He's going to get 2 small wolves, but that's it. That's all he's got right now is Mujin and Key off the push in the bottom lane. Going to invade again and take his other buff.
Oh, just so poor in decision-making. And yes, one of those players is Kingin, who's his first split in the LCK. Or second split, I should say, but has played very few games. It's score there as well, and I don't understand why they just didn't give it up. Go find a buff somewhere else. It's not ideal. You did pick a 1-item power spike comp, and you know the comms were, guys, let's get a huge lead early. But that doesn't need to spill over to level 1. You can vertical jungle. You can find something around the map. This is what we mentioned. So1, traditionally a tank-only player, but the one carry and pro play that he's performed on has been the Jace. And remember, 6-2 on Jin Air, mostly in his career, is actually a very good win rate.
That it is, and I feel like he got a bunch of deserved bans towards him once he started to show that ability to play that champion. So not too surprising, but interesting that he gets it here. Remember that the 3rd ban was Tom Kench, so KT deciding, yeah, we're going to be okay with So1's Jace.
I need to return to my sellout point from before. So Corgi not available today. I am a noted Corgi aficionado. I had a Welsh Corgi named Rumble when I was in Australia. But what I want to point out is in the Korean advertisement that I believe will be replayed between series, the Korean name for that skin is not Corgi Corki, which I'm not a big fan of. It's not Corgi, that was my idea. It's Welsh Corki, which is so good. Why is that not the English name?
I don't know. That's the other thing. Like, why did they get to decide a new name, essentially?
Because it makes more or less sense, you would imagine, based on the region. I assume it's the same as Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone or Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone having different names.
I mean, they could have just done Korgi, right? Like,
but Welsh Corki is just really funny.
No, yeah,
and quite
I agree.
clever.
It makes sense, but it was just interesting the naming decisions that get decided on between the two regions.
If people are wondering and they're not familiar with dog breeds, it's a Welsh Corgi. Pembroke Welsh Corgi or Cardigan Welsh Corgi is the breed name of the dog. So Welsh Corgi is actually really funny. But no, sadly, not going to happen. Tempt, we, again, assume he can't pick the skin today, so we're going to have to wait for, actually maybe relegations might be the first tournament, because you would imagine playoffs is going to be on 9.6 in every region.
Yeah, you would have to imagine. You see Score coming in here. He was bullied earlier on, and he's really sad to note that after all that, he just, Mujin just went into his own jungle and farmed up all the camps, so Score can't even find anything to steal or really do anything. Just gets a ward down on the Wolves. Can't even get a gank up in the top lane. He's kind of just been running around on 4 camps, 16 CS after that early game.
Mujin is so far ahead of him in gold, 500 gold. Ahead of him in the early game, and so many camps ahead as well, right? Consider that at 5 minutes 45, when very few camps have even respawned for the first time, he's 5 camps ahead plus. That includes Scuttles, of course, and I believe Score, who's usually on the inflicting end of removing Scuttle Crabs from the enemy, is the one who's going to be missing out on almost all of them this game. So Mujin, for his only second performance all season, is certainly, and with it, we must admit, a little bit of help from Score, having a nice time out.
Definitely having a good time so far, and the one thing that you'll find in solo queue nowadays, Jarvan is relatively popular, but he's so fast if he gets 1 or 2 takedowns and gets that, it's not the Ravenous Hunter, but the other hunter that makes you really
Relentless
fast.
Hunter.
Relentless Hunter. He will get in your face really quick, and you can see already has the 1 takedown and is relatively fast with just the boot, so he's going to get around the map really fast, be able to farm everything up, and just try to shut down Score at every turn.
I actually think, given the naming convention there, just because we've been speaking about names with the skin names, Relentless Hunter is actually a really, really, it actually fits the word. Well, it's going to go in on King in here, but what I mean is, it actually is very iconic of what the rune does, or the choice does, because it allows you to relentlessly pursue people and be everywhere, which is exactly what we're seeing from Jarvan this game. In fact, he's back on the red bus one, but here's VT.
3-on-3, but the smite comes in as Score is going to get the knockup, but it's aftershock Galio, but Lissandra able to get it first, but low on mana. They're trying to turn onto King in here, and the big one is going to shut him down. The 3-man catalyst here from the side of Hanwha, and there it is. Key able to get the follow-up, and Tempt is just trying to auto everybody down. Is going to get the red buff. Should be able to get another kill here on a Snowflower. There it is. Will be the double kill. And 3 kills in total, actually, going to Tempt.
While KT started off the play being in position, they're still behind Valdez. And they're all fish in a barrel for this Corki. He got 2,000 gold from just killing everyone in the Cataclysm. Warrior Enchant comes out on the Jarvan, so it seems like Mujin's not willing to just go tank and be there with 380 carries. This is a huge injection of gold for someone who has an expensive build. The fact that it's Corki and now might actually get his items ahead of the clock is so scary for KT. You're watching the replay here. The moment that he got disengaged, I really like the decision Mujin made. He doesn't hit level 6 till specifically King goes down, and while his ult is a one-way trip to the Death Chamber, they're all stuck in a spot and no one has an escape.
Tempt just sitting there autoing the entire time with the Gatling gun too.
I know. It's ridiculous. And this is Corki before he had any items.
He had a cull and a ruby crystal. I think those were his items. Get in there, no flash, nice, nice. Just, you know, standard for LCK, but Yeah, I mean, that's a fantastic fight. You can see now the items that he has, builds up that chain, and gets really close to that Trinity Force already.
We're going to learn if Temp's one of my boys, because if he's one of my boys, Valdez, you know what he's going to do? He's going to go Infinity Edge second here and really just pile on the pain. Rapid Fire Cannon if you're behind. Sure, you want to Zeo and get going. No thrift shopping needed when you're the richest Corki we've seen in ages. Remember that the 300 bounty doesn't include the 300 gold from getting a kill. So this is a 600 bounty pre-10 minutes.
It's, you know, it's the big one already, and he's having a lot of fun there. Mujin, once again, keeping up that relentless hunting of all the objectives and kills, picks up a Cloud Drake.
And I'm fortunate because I have the foremost package perfectionist here. You are the person who knows all about the Corki passive, so you can definitely tell me what sort of special deliveries we see when that first comes on.
I'm already ready, Papa, don't worry. I'm excited for when he gets that first one. Doesn't look like he is going to have it just yet, but should be up soon. As, yeah, I mean, this is the best feel for Corki. We've seen a lot of Corkis that get behind, and, you know, they have the call, and they just sit there and they try to farm, and they're pretty much useless because they can't get their items, and the enemy team has an early game comp, and they just are able to end the game before Corki does anything. But if you get ahead on Corki, your missiles are going to start chunking people, and that's not necessarily normal. But when you're this far ahead, Corki can be really oppressive to deal with.
And there's even a counterpoint analysis, because what did we say about KT's first round? Damn, these champions are strong at one item. What happens when a Lucian or a Lissandra or a Rek'Sai is behind in items, Valdez? Well, then they don't actually inflict all that one item power spike pain at the times where they need to, and they get outscaled as the game goes on. We know that right now, especially the Rek'Sai, is kind of a warrior enchant and a dream at this point for score. KT are already unable to fight for any map objectives. Can go CS for CS. They do have some nice CS leads, but obviously in the mid lane, that's not going to mean a gold lead for the Lissandra. So given that, outside of Kingen, KT really need to regroup quickly, get vision down. That's what they can still do, is use their one item power spikes and early grouping to get down vision, and find a way to not allow multiple free objectives, specifically this Infernal at 14 minutes, to go to Hanwha Life without a very strong contest from KT.
Imagine 3-0-1 Trinity Force at 15 minutes plus Infernal Corki. I mean, he's just going to be able to Valkyrie into people and start chunking them for half their health immediately. It's going to get pretty fun for Tempt.
He's got some nice shoes as well. So he is certainly really, really big for 11 minutes. Normally, Corki, I remember when I first started playing in 2010, Corki was a mid laner back before we had 80 carries in the bot lane. And the reason why I bring that up, Snowball might walk up here, but the reason why I bring it up is there was some really good analysis of Corki that I read on the League of Legends forum before there was even a subreddit. And it was, Corki's so pleasant to lane against pre-level 6, you know, he doesn't do a lot of damage, just farming. But then he turns into such a menace when he gets one item and when he actually gets his rockets to level 11. All of that analysis is much more front-ended here. The happy times, the happy farming times are over. This is already a very potent Corki, way earlier than the god of damage we know that Corki can unleash as the items come in.
It's going to be fun for him as, I mean, PDD, normally Lissandra, going to be okay in this lane, especially if it's early, but I'm going to hold that thought as we're dunking onto the bottom lane. There's the Cataclysm straight onto Gango's face as Snowflower will be able to get out, but a nice combination to pick up a kill for the bottom side.
That was actually really good synergy there. Mujin held on to his ult for a long time as Songyun went to the backline. Very well executed. Remember, it is Warrior Jarvan, not so much Cinderhawk Jarvan recently, and that might hurt them later, but it means they're more able to fight earlier. At this point, when they're the ones leading these plays aggressively, Kingen hasn't found a spot. Look for solo kills, and we really like Akali when she can hit the Gunblade power spike, but you have to be respectful against Jace early. His base stats are down, so you might kill him easier, but his damage is the same. So for now, at least, we are about 1,500 to 2,000 gold away for Kingen actually arming the Fangs and going in aggressively top.
Galio's engaged, as reliable as ever, as once you get that first taunt, you know he's dead. If he doesn't have the cleanse, as You were looking for that play up in the top side, nearly comes through. Sohan is going to be able to get away.
Not quite kill pressure yet, but very close to it, right? So Kingen will probably have to be stabilizing impact, and 4-1 is what KT are going to try to play. This is not a 1-3-1 draft, even though it's TP advantage on Lissandra versus Corki, because this Lissandra can't stay in lane against Corki in a long or short lane. As this game has started, that's the cost of the poor decisions in the early game. So because of that, they need to play 4-1 and aggressively find the picks that honestly should be reliable with the champions they've drafted.
Here we go, Infernal is about to spawn, and already so much vision is being denied. There's that one ward that was able to sneak in, but it looks like Mujin, with the help of Key's control ward here, gonna deny it. And there's only that one ward behind the dragon, but that's about to run out of time here. Plus the package on Tempt has been picked up with the blue buff he's about to get. So fantastic timing here for Hanwha to just take it and go.
But this is not contestable by KT. They might try. It is insane to suggest this. We'll watch how that plays out, though. Score's trying something.
Look at BDD trying to do anything to Tempt right now. You just can't even get close, as, just as you mentioned, there was no chance for them to get in.
And you might say, Papa Smith, you told me. It is the one-item power spike team on the side of KT Rolster. They have early spikes everywhere. They want to take over the map early. The problem is, Valdez, this is the 1 out of 40 games where you rock up to the Infernal at 14 minutes, and the Corki has blue buff package, Sorcerer's Shoes Triforce, and level 11. Yeah. He is like the strongest possible Corki, and alone, everyone else on KT, in spite of what the champion select dictated, smartly says, all right, Mr. Corki, we cannot do anything to you.
Yeah, I mean, that's why sometimes, you know, in solo queue, there's a lot more kills and crazy stuff that happens, a lot less teamwork. Sometimes the comps don't matter all too much, and the analysis, you can throw it out the window once the mid laner gets 3 kills out of nowhere and people start question marking in your team. So it's definitely that case here for Tempt, who is living the solo queue dream right now in this game against KT.
But what do we learn from Chovy not being able to close out a game where he did a lot of damage? Speedy, he really hates his life.
He does have Aftershock, but it's going to get away with the Glacial Path.
Remember that Corki is an only damage squishy champion who can be popped if Tempt takes a bad pass, so Tempt can definitely be shut down, and 650 gold go to an enemy. And also, as the game goes on, if his frontline dies around him, and his frontline is super squishy, Warrior Jarvan and a support Galio, there's also the chance that he won't be able to solo carry. So Corki, yes, the damage will be there, we know that, but will there be a position to actually maximize that damage? For now, it seems like the answer will be yes at every quadrant, but there will be a time where if he takes the wrong path, the equation can change for KT Rolster.
And that definitely is the kind of way for KT to get back in this game, take a wonky fight and somehow assassinate Corki and just remove so much gold from the fight. As you can see, he's already up to 7,600 in this one. Tempted gank up on the top side by Snowflower and Score. You know, trying to play around Kingen, who has been finding some success in the lane, but not quite able to lock him down.
Kingen doesn't have the item point we were talking about to actually allow him to go in aggressively. So I imagine next shop is going to be the Gunblade timing, and this might be the time to start rotating around. Put 2 people in his lane so that he no longer has someone to feast upon. Lane assignment's going to be a lot more flexible with Hun Life. They have the tempo control of this game in spite of the draft. Because of all the early kills on Corki, they can roam fast around the map, and they got bot lane turrets. So right now, KT are only accepting minion waves, and they're going to be second to most rotations and likely lose some creeps to turrets while they try to get the lane assignments they want.
So funny to watch Mujin running around the map right now with all the takedowns he has and the Cloud Drake even. This guy is quite fast, and he only has the brown bags. He hasn't even completed his level 2 boots yet, so.
Does he have 5 or 4 stacks of the Relentless Honey? Definitely has 4 because of the play around the Rift Herald, right? Earlier in the game.
Did he kill Kingen, though?
That's the one thing. So. I think he has 4 stacks, so he's still super quick.
Actually, no, they killed Score up at the top side, so.
I think it's 4 stacks. Could be wrong on that. It's at least 3, obviously, because we saw the kills come in, but I believe it's 4.
Well, Kingen was in that fight at the Rift Herald, right? So.
I mean, he has 100% kill participation, and everyone's died, so we know it's 5 stacks.
Yeah.
That's the math play there. So he's just super fast, Valdez. He's relentless in how fast he can get around the map. Just like if you play Karthus jungle and there's a random level 1 Fiesta and you get 5 stacks of Ultimate Hunter and you're like, oh, my ultimate cooldown's not 8 minutes. It's not actually 8 minutes, but it feels like 8 minutes.
Yeah. It's, yeah, definitely good times when you make that happen, as KT carefully taking their red buff, not even sure if it's theirs yet in this game, especially after Tier 2 top was taken down here by Hanwha.
They performed the correct red buff take, which is not something you usually have to say at 19 minutes, but the correct red buff take is 3 people invading their own jungle to take their own red. If you go any less than that, you could just be picked. Yes, maybe they're not there and you get it, but it's actually incorrect. This is the correct way for them to go. But it shows you how far behind they are in map control when you have to invest that many resources to get your own damn red buff.
Yeah, certainly is a bad feel for them, but they're playing it correctly. Will they play correctly around this Mountain Drake is the next question. Do they have the ability with their own 1-item power spikes to actually fight here for the Mountain is the next question.
Rapid Fire Cannon is done on Corki. Kai'Sa teleporting into mid. There's definitely not going to be any free lunches for KT, but they do, like you say, they have invested a lot of time into getting the vision here, and they have good pick CC. They're going to threaten something, but can they actually take the fight if Hanwha Live choose to bring it on?
Corki really fast on the minimap, can already tell he's got that package. Here he comes. Gonna be getting to pick him out, and oh, it's gonna be stolen by Mujin as the stopwatch will come in. BDD just gonna survive with the aftershock, but Rek'Sai has to ult to survive, but already 2 have gone down as Songyun has all the room in the world. And just look at Tempt alongside Songyun just chomping him down. Triple kill. Gonna go the way of Kai'Sa.
KT can talk the talk, but they can't walk the walk, Valdez. They're not strong enough. They can't fight Hanwha Live at these items. And it's past 20 minutes. Hello, Baron. Meet Corki. You won't like him.
Well, they do a lot of damage. The 2 of them, Tempt and Songyun, they have been able to get their items. Not enough pressure in the bottom lane even, so Songyun's in a good spot. Picks up 3 kills in that last fight.
Mujin actually enters this really late, but he has stasis, and that's important. He can walk up, his smite goes in true, applies the stasis, and then consider that Akali can't actually walk past the threats on the side of Hanwha Live, and that means no one's near Tempt. So guess what he does? He kills people while Kai'Sa can flash in aggressively to clean up as well. Hanwha Live have good mobility in the fights. KT's time has come and gone. Maybe that's actually more of a proclamation about KT as an org rather than KT in just game number 1. Scary to think about as. But our LCK summer winners are now perilously close to relegation, and Gen.G went down 2-0 yesterday, and Hanwha Live, with equally nothing to play for, just like Damwon Gaming, are looking to smack him down in game number 1.
Yeah, you know, when I showed up and I saw the matchup, I was like, well, this could actually go to 3 games, especially because, as we mentioned, Hanwha could just, you know, take a back seat and play a little bit more of a fun game, but they're not playing that at all. They're playing straight to the heart of KT, and KT did not show up from level 1. So very one-sided here in game 1 for sure.
And there's something really positive for Hanwha Live to take away from that. It shows that the players who need to be hungry, So1, Mujin, and Tempt, who were not the starters for this team for great parts of the season, they are hungry. They're showing they want to be playing more and more going forward. So it's nice to see players like So1 and Mujin, who, as we mentioned, have played 4 games between the 2 of them, actually show that they want to be playing LCK as much as possible.
And trying to make something happen. Speaking of guys that aren't always starting, but Redemption gonna help out there. Not even sure if he would have won that trade down the level even as the Baron push continues up in the top side. BDD always threatening and engaged, but it's 3-on-4, scored nearby, but no real way to get in there just yet. But Mujin has taken a little bit of damage, so they're not gonna push on into that inhibitor just yet.
Very much about playing minion waves when it's the first Baron buff, because you get very few stats around a 20-minute Baron. Scales much heavier. Back-ended to the 40-minute phase. However, the minions, if you're pushing the minion waves enough, are very strong in the early game. And as we know, if the minions are in position, that means Tempt and Songyun can rein in the damage. However, showing good respect here. Hanwha Live are not playing like they have a 10,000 gold lead. They're showing respect.
Here we go now, a Snowflower is going to start off that engage, doing a bit of damage here to Sohan and Mujin, but the Galio going to zone the ball out, but in goes BDD. Is going to be able to pull off his ultimate and score. Does get that damage in the backside, but he's too squishy now. The Cataclysm going to trap everybody else, and it's just going to be the 2-for-1 here for KT, but they will stop that push.
And you understand why Hanwha Life was showing some respect and trepidation. A KT engage draft that is so much reliable engage will punish you the most when the terrain has a defender's advantage, i.e. around an inhibitor turret and an inhibitor. That was just the ability to throw out CC and eventually find a good connection. They get the single kill, 2 kills we should say, but Life Esports will back away, mostly intact. They do not take down the inhibitor, so they will have to return. Bit of a bugged overlay here, so the health bar amusingly is in the air. Tricky to respect all the CC threat, and Mujin being chunked down, remember, squishy Jarvan build. This Jarvan, if you're coming and face checking him, does a lot of damage. If he's trying to help his team siege, not as useful.
See, just desperate Cataclysm at the end there. He's like, well, this is all I can do. I just want to get that damage in. And it actually did help because it trapped the rest of them back and made sure that KT couldn't continue on the chase, and makes things interesting for this next Mountain Drake that's about to spawn. You can see that KT this time around do have some good vision around there. But already recalls coming in. Doesn't look like they want to challenge for that second Mountain, which can be hard to find value, especially when you're behind anyway.
It's notable that Sungyun has gone Hurricane this game. I would say very confidently, if it was a close game, you would never go Hurricane against how many threats with CC and burst damage there is on the enemy team. This is the prototype of a Phantom Dancer game for an AD carry, but that's the only sign from their play and items that they're snowballing and want to close it out early. They know there's so many carries on Hanwha's side that it's very likely Sungyun will swoop in and actually get Hurricane bolts up.
Really looking for that opportunity to engage and catch them out at the Dragon, but it does not go the way they planned, as Flash is going to be blown by Mujin. That's about all they had to expend to get out of that one.
Double Mountain Drake for the last 2 inhibitor turrets they want to return to, and a inner turret in the bot lane. They're just happy to play 2 lanes for now. Hanwha Life Flash back up on key.
Look at the damage they do to the turret. They don't even need Baron, just the pushing that comes in, and Tempt and Sangya just getting in there. Snowflower, you gotta be careful, buddy. That's a really fed Corki. As down goes the inhibitor. We're gonna take their first one here, Baron, in about 30 seconds. So just going to take that slice of pie and back away.
Actually get a full recall from Mujin. Hope he's close to some items. I guess they're very bereft of control wards on their side. You could, though, as Hanwha Life, I feel if you're the coach here, you say, remember, guys, you only needed 1 control ward to do the Baron here. You're 100% certain KT hasn't snuck in loads of wards around the pit because they've been so far behind. They're showing respect to a blue trinket timing, allowing Score to burrow over the wall and get a lucky steal. But otherwise, the amount of vision control that KT could do when they're being pushed in from basically every quarter was always going to be very minimal.
Got the nice zoom in there onto the Corki, who did pick up his IE. He might not be Papa's boy, but did eventually pick it up as the 3rd item here, Papa. So
I'm going to be listening to your play-by-play. Oh, hold the point.
Okay, trying to burst him down, but BDD is just all alone here. Going to get dunked as...
that was a bit out of sync there, Valdez.
Really out of sync. Not sure what that was.
But I want to hear the adjectives you use to describe how much damage 25-minute or 27-minute Corki will be doing, because I think a lot of the more large adjectives or stronger adjectives might actually be vindicated with how damn strong Tempt is right now.
We'll see what I got in the chamber by the time we get there, but... we'll see if KT even put up a really big fight here, as now BDD down for 15 seconds. Should be back for the Nexus turrets, I suppose. But
you know how I would describe
like
that play from BDD? That was solo queue my team's feeding. And I'm going to try and do it myself.
Yeah. He's trying, you know. It's hard when you're down this much gold, and you find an AD carry who seems to be alone. You got to take some risks, right? So,
speaking of,
Cullen comes out as BDD might be doing it again. Is the 2nd time the charm. As, okay, well, that's going to land. Doesn't look like we're going to go in on that one, as super minions are hitting the Nexus turrets. Okay, as Hanwha going to be pushing on in, going 5v4 in a very wonky fight that nobody actually died in. They still do have Baron, though, for 2.5 minutes, so the push does continue. And, well, that's the big one. Straight to the face. You also have the Jace, as just from the poke damage, from this far ahead, Hanwha going to discourage KT quite a lot.
Oh!
As, what even happened to him? Where did he go? Okay, well, we do have the engage follow-up as they are going to get the stun here on the Zoan. Kingen just trying to survive in the backside, but he's got to stop watching a dream at this point, as he's going to go down, and Temp should be at that 1,000 gold bounty at this point, 700, whatever you want to call it. GG is going to go the way of Hanwha, who stomped KT in game 1.
Zoan and Mugen pick up their first game victory of LCK Spring in the final series that Hanwha has been able to play. It was not until the season was over that we finally saw Mugen brought back into the lineup, and Zoan also getting a starting spot. But the level 1 here from KT was super, super abysmal. It was really poor on almost every level. Yes, it was a 2v2, but the moment the vision went down on score, Jace has more spells than you. That's what happens with Nidalee and Jace. They've got that extra spell at level 1, and they just, as it should be, put him in the ground, took the buff. The counter jungling around it was quite inspired. I like to see Mugen returning to the reputation that actually made Mugen a respected jungler. Think back to MSI last year, where everyone was saying, wait, who's this Mugen guy? He's so damn good and so damn aggressive. That was the Mugen we saw in game number 1 for KT. To say the House of Cards fell apart quickly would be an understatement. They looked very bereft of ideas, and by the end, BDD was looking for flanks that were just never going to happen, or isolated kills. Nothing is isolated 25 minutes in when you have an IE Corki on the enemy team. This was a really sorry game from KT Rolster.
Yep. Well, that puts it pretty succinctly as to what was going on in the early game there. Not sure what was going on in the heads of KT, but they're going to have to clear out the clouds that they came in with in game number 1 if they want to have a hope in hell, because Hanwha showed up today quite good. They had a plan straight from level 1. You can tell that they're trying their absolute hardest to win every single game, regardless of standing in the LCK or playoffs or any of that. They come in, they respect KT, and with the plan, they are able to, you know, quite nicely just destroy them here. 21,000 damage. 29 minutes will go the way of Tempt on Corki. And
that number isn't cataclysmic, but remember that most of Corki's damage is back-ended because of magic damage crits and the fact that no one can itemize for a 6-item Corki. This was a 29-minute Corki doing 21,000 damage. If this game had gone any longer, which wasn't really possible with how far ahead Hanwha were, the damage numbers would have been super huge, but we're going to throw it to a break and see if KT can find anything for game number 2.
Yeah, KT on blue side could still get invaded at the red. We'll see if Hanwha also has any other plans for KT in game number 2. We'll find out after